Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Novella, and I've had a fairly good reading week. This is what I read this week. There are a couple of good books and two genius books. I will start with the genius one because it's so special. It is absolutely special. It's called Letters, Summer 1926, between Boris Pasternak, Marina Tsvetayeva, and Rainer Maria Rilke. This is the cover. This is an absolute masterpiece. Oh my God. My God. So how did I come across this book? I read and I also discussed this book, the biography of Marina Abramovic, you know, the artist and the performance artist, and she was very close friends with Susan Sontag, and Susan Sontag reached out to her to know her better, and at the beginning of the friendship. And she gave this book to Marina Abramovic. And the funny thing is that these letters were, or this collection of letters, but in an published in Croatia, I believe. That was the only book Marina Abramovic ever owned when she was living with her very strict mother. And when I read about that book, I really wanted to read it too, and I'm so glad I did. So you have three geniuses. You have Boris Pasternak, you have Maria Tsvetayeva, yeah. You have Maria Tsvetayeva, who is a romantic poet in Russia, but she is living in exile in Paris. And you have Rainer Maria Rilke, who everybody knows, and it are his final days, or it's his final year. He is suffering from leukemia and is residing somewhere in Switzerland. Boris Pasternak is still in Moscow, I believe. And through Leonid Pasternak, Boris Pasternak gets in contact with Rilke. They start writing letters during that summer. And because Boris Pasternak is a bit infatuated with Maria, he wants to introduce her to Rainer Maria Rilke. And he writes a letter about her, and of course, Rilke wants to have contact with her too. And they also, like Maria and Rainer, are writing letters. And it's letters about, of course, poetry, about art, about writing in general, about being human. It's amazing to read these letters in such a high level. And you have the whining Pasternak, who is complaining all the time, who is actually in love with Maria, but Maria falls in love with Rilke, and they start to comment on each other's work, and they have whole discussions about poetry and how it should be written and what it should be and how it should be done and everything. And then, of course, Rilke dies, unfortunately, and then you see everything falling apart. But everything is with so much love and so much passion, and it's amazing. It's amazing. This is a book that I will read and reread and reread and reread at least 100 times. This is the first book that I was reading. At the moment itself, I was thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to the moment that I'm rereading this book. This is how good it is. It's so amazing. My favorite means of communication is otherworldly, to dream, to see in one's dreams. Maria wrote to Pasternak on November 1922, "Beloved, come to me often in my dreams. No, not that. Live in my dreams." I'm really in awe by their writing, and they also explain how they write letters and how much time they spend writing their letters, because for them, writing a letter is also a form of art. It's this is a book that every writer should read, must read. This is an astonishing book. It's full of knowledge and full of poems in development. This is a letter from Pasternak to Rilke. This is Marina Tsvetayeva's letter to Boris, one of her letters to Boris Pasternak. This is Marina. I first said Maria, but it's Marina. And so here you have Marina again, and here is Boris Pasternak with his wife. This is Rilke here. Yeah, it's an amazing book. And the beginning of the book is about how they met, and it's actually through the wife of Leonid Pasternak and the wife of Rilke, I believe, or his sister. They were both pianists, and they studied at the same academy, and that's how they knew each other. Leonid Pasternak is Boris Pasternak's father, and that's how they came to meet and came to write to Rilke. It's amazing, must read. Then another brilliant book is this one by Janina Ramirez, Femina, A New History of the Middle Ages Through the Women Written Out of It. This is the book. Ramirez talks about several women that are written out of history throughout Europe. So there were I never knew that there were female kings, for instance. He also talks about Hildegard von Bingen, although Hildegard von Bingen is somebody who, to me, is very well known because she's a mystic, and there are quite a few books and songs and stuff that are still performed. And about the very important queens in medieval England, how they were important to the development of Christianity in England. And they were all written out of history because everybody talks about their husbands. Mostly it were they who did all the work, all the groundwork and all the field work for their husbands to shine. This is very interesting. I learned a lot. I really learned a lot. There are a couple of downsides. The writing is solid, but not always as engaging as it should be. In my copy, the pictures aren't always very clear. She also talks about the Battle of Hastings and Marjorie Kemp and or Kempe. Yeah, it's really interesting, but the pictures aren't always very. Could be better sometimes. Maybe it's my print. She also talks about the women who made beautiful stuff like the tapestries and the broideries and yeah, it's really interesting. It's if you like reading about the Middle Ages, and if you're doing let's say research for a book or whatever, this is very interesting. I learned a lot, and I read a lot about history, but I learned a lot. So yeah, I warmly advise to read it. Even though the writing can be a little tedious, but luckily there's so many women discussed, and so many women that you discover that it doesn't matter. I highly recommend it, and the cover is beautiful too. You see how shiny it is. It's really pretty. Then, what else did I read? A couple of smaller things. I read, it's L'Amant, or The Lover by Marguerite Duras. Duras is a French author, and she's best known for a script Hiroshima Mon Amour, or Hiroshima Mon Amour. And she was actually born in Saigon. This book is set in Saigon. So it's about a young girl who meets an older Chinese guy, very rich, and he seduces her. And she has a relationship with him. This isn't a straightforward story. It's all told in snippets. To me, it's more like she has a lot of ideas and she pushed it into this story. And it's more about her reflections on life and her reflections on femininity and womanhood and love and society and her place in society. So it's not a straightforward story. You have to connect the dots yourself. It's written in very short snippets all the time. Look, like this. And see, it's almost fragments here and there. Did I like this book? Yeah, it has some very brilliant writing. Let me read something. Drink accomplished what God did not. It also served to kill me. To kill. I acquired that drinker's face before I drank. Drink only confirmed it. She talks a lot about alcohol. So I'm not sure if she was an alcoholic, but I think so. So I will look that up. Yeah, Marguerite Duras, L'Amant. Not a straightforward story. Not as easy. It's not a quick read. Normally I would read this in an hour and a half, but it took me 2 days to read this one. Then I also read Men Explaining Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. This was okay. I only gave it 3 stars. I expected more of it. I have to be honest, and I I expected more of it. Very little stayed with me afterwards, after this book, except for the fact that there was a guy who was explaining her own book to her without even reading it. So yeah, because he read a review in the New York Times or something. And then this is the Dutch translation, but it's the Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. The Miniaturist is, of course, the well-known story of Nella Ortman, or Petronella Ortman, set in Amsterdam in 1686. I really enjoyed this novel, although I found the magic element in it not necessary. People are already mysterious themselves, so you don't always have to add such an element with the dollhouse. So yeah, it wasn't really necessary. I thought what I really enjoyed was how real it all felt while reading this book. It's really well researched. It feels very Amsterdam and Dutch. It really feels like you were there in the 17th century. And so this is about a girl, if you don't know the story or if you haven't seen the series, this is about Petronella Oortman, who is married to Johannes Brandt. And Johannes Brandt is a very rich merchant, and she goes and lives with him and his sister. And the sister is very cold and unlikable at the beginning, at least. And Johannes is never there, and then she realizes that he is never there because, of course, he travels a lot. She uses a huge dollhouse to tell the story. So the dollhouses were very, very expensive. For a merchant like Johannes, he would earn like 40 to 50,000 guilders a year, and a dollhouse with a complete dollhouse, complete with furniture and people in it, is about 10,000 guilders. So a lot of money. And she uses this dollhouse that she gets as a wedding gift, which was often given to young girls who rather young girls who marry within very rich families. And she uses that as a sort of way or telling the story, but I found it unnecessary. It didn't add anything, and I wish I could learn more about Johannes, and because he seemed like a very interesting figure, and that we didn't really discover a lot about. So I found that a bit, sad. Yeah, that's about it. That was my reading week, which was quite good, actually. So thank you for watching. I hope you had an excellent reading week. I have a very interesting week ahead. I'm going to Paris on Thursday, meeting some friends, and hopefully do some book shopping. And I'm really looking forward to that. And what are your plans for next week? What are you going to read? Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and read. Books are there to read. Bye-bye.